Coming out of Ukraine, we've got another fashion company called Gorsad Kyiv. And they are, it's not the original spelling Kiev of Kiev. No, it's Gorsad, Gorsad, Kyiv, Kyiv. And it's coming straight out of Ukraine. This is the one that is absolutely disgusting. And this is Balenciaga level disgusting. This company has children and teenagers. They have them nude, covering their private parts with limbs or objects. I mean, unlike Benetton and stuff where they still had clothes on, these kids and these teenagers are actually nude, but they're covering themselves with their limbs or specific objects. They have these kids and teens cross-dressing. They have them in devil wings next to pentagrams made of roses. They have these kids next to tombstones with cigarettes hanging out of their mouths. They have pictures of these kids and teenagers with toy guns in their mouths. They have these kids with bloody noses and bruised eyes. They even had one of a kid that had 666 painted on his forehead. They have ones with kids and teenagers where their heads are covered by plastic bags. They even had one where there was a girl that was wrapped in a full plastic bag. She was all the way in the whole bag. They also have a picture of a kid or a teenager pretending to have her head severed and it laid between the legs of a man. They also have a picture of kids mouth kissing animals. There's worse out there. I'm just giving you baseline what I think you guys can handle. Just like when I was doing research on Balenciaga, there's things I wish I could unsee. And yeah, this is stuff that they posted on Instagram, on their website, on all these places. And it's just out there. They've removed a lot of them. I know there's a company, I think it was Gorsad, where they had a specific website that they put an age gate on now where you have to be 21 to even enter because of sexual themes, and it's kids. Guys, it's bad. It's bad. Um, and this is the tip of the iceberg. Um, and all these kids, I mean, there were some teenagers that looked drugged out. A lot of these kids looked soulless. They looked lifeless. Um, several of them looked scared. They looked scared. I can't prove it, but I would not be surprised if these kids are trafficked kids. And they're just using them for their demented pleasure. There's more. This Gorsad Kyiv company, a lot of their pictures, they feature a lady, I would say young lady. I don't think she's a child. I don't think she's a teenager, maybe early 20s, maybe mid 20s. Sometimes it's hard to tell. but a lot of the pictures have a lady by the name of Masha Romaniuk. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. And she appears all over in these ads. All over. She did an interview, and she referenced, and remember, she's a part of the ad campaign for Gorsad Kyiv. But she, in this interview, referenced the company Benetton. We just talked about Benetton, and we're talking about all the connections between these groups. Well, she's connected to Benetton as well. And in that interview, there's a book on her desk. It's amazing how they always put these books on these things, like we found out with Balenciaga. Well, on her desk in this interview, there's a book by a man named Terry Richardson. Terry has worked with Tom Ford, Benetton, Yves Saint Laurent, and Vogue. And he's also responsible for many children ads and pictures as well. And he's worked for all of those people. I'll say again, Tom Ford, Benetton, Yves Saint Laurent, and Vogue. His book appeared on her desk in an interview for Gorsad Kyiv. And also, Gorsad Kyiv also does a lot of work with Vogue as well. You guys seeing the same names, the same connections, the same people? It's all together. Now, here's the thing. That's the fashion stuff. Here's the thing. The Ukrainian legal system, and this is for the people out there that still think Ukraine is some bastion of light. Ukraine is one of the most evil countries in this entire world. The Ukrainian legal system does not provide clear definitions of prostitution and child prostitution. They do not provide clear definitions of these. Charges will continuously get brought up, but clients are often not prosecuted because of these vague definitions, and they are allowed to go and continue to circulate among the trafficking rings in Ukraine. These legal definitions, the legal system is built specifically to allow this to take place. It's built specifically to allow this to take place. Going back into 2015, there was a Huffington Post article that they put out that stated Ukraine, and this is the title of it, Ukraine orphanages, feeders for child trafficking. Ukraine orphanages, feeders for child trafficking. This is 2015. Huffington Post put this out. They said governments, faith-based groups, and churches, aid agencies, and volunteer tourists may be inadvertently funding human trafficking. They're basically saying that these groups that believe that they're helping these orphanages, they believe with donating money so they can build places for them and donate food and clothing and stuff. Well, what they're saying is that money is actually going towards funding human trafficking. Then going back to a BBC article from 2006, keep in mind, these are mainstream media companies. And it's amazing how they had such a hard look at Ukraine back then, but now they're praising Ukraine as some glorious country that has always been in some high regard. It's interesting how that works, isn't it? But going back to a BBC article from 2006, this is the article, healthy newborn babies may have been killed in Ukraine to feed a flourishing international trade in stem cells. They go a lot deeper into it. I'm not going to get into it, but basically what the article is about is Ukraine is a baby organ harvesting hub. It is the baby organ harvesting hub of the world. That is Ukraine. So they allow the pedophile and the child prostitution. Their legal system allows that. Then there apparently their orphanages or orphanages. I can't say that word. Basically, are a feeding system for child trafficking. as well as it's a baby organ harvesting hub. This is Ukraine. This is the connection to all these fashion companies as well. It's all the same ring. It's all together. Don't forget, there's also reports of a certain political son who has a certain computer. I don't want to say specific words because, again, I don't want YouTube to kick me off. But there's a specific political son who recently, he's in trouble with stuff with a specific computer, if you catch my drift, who has been involved with, or at least accused, it's pretty obvious at this point, involved with Eastern European prostitution and or human trafficking ring. That is also out there as well. So if you want to know the connection between them and what's going on with everything in Ukraine and all the money and all the fashion company, I really hope you guys are understanding. I hope I explained it well enough where you see how all of this is connected. Evil is in fashion. And this goes all the way back to why I believe Prince Charles specifically mentioned the fashion industry when he's talking about those 10 industries. I think it all makes sense, especially when you start going into things that involve pizza, things that make you get frazzled, and all that stuff. If you catch my drift, all that stuff is connected. It's all wired and it's all in that industry. It's all connected to that industry. Then, like we talked about, there's the JP Morgan connection that we discussed. Now we've got this Scotland police are now rebranding pedophiles as minor attracted people, or MAPS for short. It's their way of normalizing pedophilia. That's real. Scotland police are now rebranding pedophile to minor attracted people. Then we've got a new trend that is emerging. It's not widely popular yet, but you're going to start seeing it, I guarantee you. A new trend also emerging called Transage. This is a new movement for adults to now identify as the age of children, basically ushering in the plea of allowing pedophilia. This is where it comes in, where you've got adults that are now saying, no, I'm age 10, and then they start doing things with a child. Well, what do you think the legal system is going to do when that's caught? Well, they identify as a child, so we're going to let it happen. This is a part of normalizing pedophilia and allowing it to continue. Getting even deeper, I told you guys, I went into this. I was not holding back. Getting even deeper, we even see a connection with the pedophilia ring, with Sam Bankman-Fried and the FTX stuff. You've got Sam Bankman-Fried's Twitter profile picture. You can see at the bottom left there. If you look at his shirt, it's basically wearing the girl lover pedophilia symbol. Then if you look at his, what he called his girlfriend's company where all the money was getting funneled to, and I'm not going to dig into all the financial stuff, but if you know anything about what's going on with that, you know she was a part of Alameda Research. Well, their symbol looks a whole lot like the boy lover pedophilia symbol. Those aren't just random fringe symbols. Those are legitimate, real symbols that get used for this stuff. It looks awfully close to me. So even connected to that, I really, really hope that you guys understand how connected the pedophilia ring, the sex trafficking ring, the child trafficking ring is all connected to finance, JP Morgan, FTX, Alameda. It's all connected to fashion industry. We just went through how all these brands and all these people and creative directors, how it's connected to Ukraine and how all of that money is getting used to funnel child trafficking, and Zelensky is a part of it. And it's not just like a United States thing. We see what's going on in Scotland. We see what's happening in the UK with this stuff, the Transage movement that's now coming out. We know it's connected to a certain political son. It's all connected, and it makes sense to why Prince Charles would specifically mention fashion, a part of his industry. And again, I believe that the 10 kings will be 10 industry kings, because you can control people in the world a whole lot easier if you control all the industries rather than if you try to control them via land. I think it just makes a whole lot more sense, especially when you have people like Musk, who can be the tech guy. I'm not saying it could be somebody else, but right now it looks like Musk can be him. Maybe Gates has something. We know he's getting involved with agriculture, like not just in the United States, but all over the world. He could be a part of that. Jeff Bezos, maybe. There's people out there that could be a part of this. And if their fashion industry means this, makes sense.